Please state your name for the record.
Michael Fischels.
How do you spell your last name?
Fischels.
And how are you employed?
I'm a special agent with the Department of Homeland Security, Homeland Security Investigations.
And how long have you been a federal agent?
Since 1996, about 25 years.
Okay. Are you getting ready to retire?
I am.
All right. When does that happen?
At the end of July.
All right. Very good. Can you just describe your duties with Homeland Security?
Duties include enforcing Title 8, 18, Title 19, Title 21 of the United States Code, enforcing the Immigration and Nationality Act. Those codes involve drug smuggling, drug trafficking, alien smuggling, alien trafficking, shipping in and out of the United States, counterfeit goods, and of course immigration offenses.
Okay. And over the course of your career, well, let me ask you this. What's your current duty station?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
And how long have you been there?
Since 2005.
Okay. What other places have you worked as a federal agent? What other cities?
Prior to Cedar Rapids, I worked in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Prior to that, I worked in Douglas, Arizona. And prior to that, I worked in San Clemente, California.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do.
How would you rate your proficiency?
I consider myself proficient in the language.
Okay. If there was a native Spanish speaker, could you carry on a conversation with that person?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your educational background?
I graduated from Iowa State University in 1995 with a major in sociology, a minor in Spanish, and a minor in criminal justice.
And have you been able to put that minor in Spanish to good use in your career?
Yes, I have.
Do you frequently speak Spanish with other persons in your job?
Yes, I do.
When did you become involved in the investigation relating to the disappearance of Molly Tibbetts?
I received a call for assistance from the DCI on August 19th of 2018.
And what was your role to be in the investigation?
The DCI had notified me that they were requesting our assistance from our agency for the following day on the 20th to canvass a couple areas in the area, specifically Yerby Farms.
Was there any particular person that was identified to you that you were to be looking for in this canvass?
During a briefing prior to going to Yerby Farms, they had told us that there was a vehicle that had been spotted, a vehicle of interest, and that they were looking for that vehicle and potential driver of that vehicle.
Did the potential driver of that vehicle have a Spanish name?
Yes, he did.
And what was that?
Cristhian Bahena Rivera.
And maybe you mentioned this already. What was the type of vehicle that you were to be looking for?
It was a black Chevy Malibu.
All right, so where did you go then on August 20th of 2018 in order to assist in
we went to the Powersheet County Sheriff's Office for a briefing, and after that we departed the Sheriff's Office for Yerby Farms.
All right, and how many officers were present at the briefing at the Sheriff's Office?
I can't say exactly, maybe 20 to 25.
Okay, so you were going down to Yerby Farms to canvass. That means what exactly?
To speak, one, with the company to start with, two, to speak to the employees or other individuals that may be on the property about the vehicle, about the disappearance, and anything that DCI was seeking at that point.
Okay, and in addition to that, you were hoping to find Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
Yes.
All right. Is this Mr. Bahena Rivera, the defendant, somebody that you knew prior to the 20th of August?
No.
What time did you go to Yerby Farms on August 20th?
I believe it was about 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon.
And whenever you arrived at the farm, tell the jury what you first did.
I sat in my vehicle while agents from the DCI contacted the company owners. Once they were contacted, we were given the go-ahead that we could speak to anybody on the property, including the employees. At that point, I went with a DCI agent and began to speak to employees at the farm.
Did you go? Was that agent Scott Green?
Yes, it was.
All right. So you did not enter the property of Yerby Farms to talk to any workers without permission?
Correct.
Which you say that you were granted, correct?
Yes.
At some point while you were at Yerby Farms, was the defendant located?
Yes, he was.
Was he located by you or other officers?
Other officers.
Were you provided a central location at Yerby Farms in order to speak to the people that you needed to speak to in the canvas?
Yes, we were.
And where was that?
It was a building that was centrally located on the farm, kind of a big open room. I believe I saw like the time clock there, a place for employees to hang up their coats. It also had what appeared to be a break room and maybe like a small locker room for boots and shoes.
Okay. Did this provide adequate space for you to speak with the farm workers?
Yes.
All right. At some point while you're at this central location, this room you described, did the defendant arrive?
Actually, he was there when I arrived at that building.
Okay. So where was he, the defendant, whenever you first arrived at the building?
He was standing with other employees in the larger room of that building.
Did you speak to him first, or did you speak to others?
I didn't speak to any of the other employees there in that room. I only spoke to him in the little break room, which was separated from the big room.
And were you able to speak to him in Spanish?
Yes, I was.
Were you able to understand the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Did he appear to understand you?
Yes, he did.
How would you describe his demeanor at the time that you encountered him at the building that you just described?
He was calm, not nervous, cooperative.
Okay, and the room that you met with him in, was it separate from the larger room?
Yes, it was.
Were you in there with him by yourself or with other officers?
I was in there with another DCI agent.
Was that Scott Green also?
No, it was not.
Initially, did you discuss with the defendant vehicles that were associated with him?
Yes, we did.
There were two, correct?
Correct.
You had indicated earlier that you were looking for a black Chevy Malibu, but was there another car that he was associated with him?
Yes, that day he was driving a Nissan Altima, which was parked at the farm.
Is that the first you'd heard of a Nissan Altima, was whenever he told you what he was driving?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Where did you ask the defendant where the black Chevy Malibu was located?
We did ask him about the black Chevy Malibu.
And what did he say?
He stated that the Malibu was parked at his residence or his trailer, which was located just down the road from the farm.
And do you know how far his trailer was from the farm location where you were at?
As he described it to me at that point, it was only about 5 minutes down the road.
Did you obtain consent to search the black Chevy Malibu?
Yes.
Who provided that to you?
Mr. Bahena Rivera.
Did you also obtain consent to search the Altima if that became necessary?
Yes.
And who provided you that consent?
Mr. Bahena Rivera.
Okay. Was there any other consent with regard to his residence that he maintained near the farm?
Mr. Bahena Rivera actually told me during the interview that he had received a phone call from someone seeking permission to search the trailer and or the Malibu, and he granted that permission or consent to search, but I don't know who he talked to.
Okay. So he had consented to have you search his trailer as well?
Correct.
Or his residence, I should say. So after the forms were signed, after after you obtained the defendant's consent, did you ask him to come to the sheriff's office to be interviewed?
Yes.
What was his response to that?
He agreed to come down to the sheriff's office and continue an interview.
While you were in his presence, was there, let me back up. One more question with the car overlooked. So did you have a discussion with him as to who the black Chevy Malibu was registered to?
Yes.
What did he tell you with regard to that?
He said that the Malibu was registered to a female, his cousin, by the name of Areli.
So, Agent Fischels, did you also talk, or was there any discussion with the defendant while you were in his presence about Molly? Did you or someone else in your presence ask him if he knew her?
Yes.
What was his response?
He stated that he did not know her. He had not seen her, but he mentioned something about Facebook.
Was he asked a subsequent time whether or not he had known or been in the presence of Molly Tibbetts?
Yeah, I believe he was asked again.
And what was his response?
I don't remember. I remember him specifically just saying that he did not know her.
Okay. Agent Fischels, did you have any participation in the subsequent interview of the defendant at the Powersheet County Sheriff's Office?
No, other than